Welcome to the Christian Business Concepts with your host, Harold Milby. Christian Business Concepts is dedicated to guiding companies and business owners in becoming effective, efficient, and successful through God's Word and godly principles. Now, here's your host, Harold Milby.
Thanks, Kelly, and welcome everyone to this week's Christian Business Concepts podcast. I'm so glad that you're here today for this special podcast that we did on the None Better podcast show. I was a guest there this week, and I wanted to share that with you. I just thought it would be something that you'd find interesting as we talked about CBC and about some of the things that we do, and I just thought it was a great interview, so I wanted to share that with you. Before we get started, again, I just want to say thank you to everyone who downloads this podcast each and every week and makes really CBC a part of your weekly growth program, and you tune in every week, and I'm just so humbled by it, especially for those of you around the world. And I just want to give a big shout out to my home state of Kentucky for all of those of you who listen and tune in every week. I thank you and I appreciate you very, very much, and all that you do in supporting this podcast. And with that in mind, I'd like to ask you, if you would, share this podcast with 2 or 3 or 4 other people that you feel like it would be a help to. And also be sure to post a link to our podcast on your Facebook and LinkedIn pages. That will tremendously help us to continue to grow the CBC community. So thank you so much. And I just want to jump right in to the podcast where we were guests on the None Better podcast.
What's good and what's happening, and welcome to a new episode of the None Better podcast. Today I have a special guest with me, one I'm really pleased to interview. He is the founder of the Christian Business Concepts. He's a John Maxwell certified coach. He's a motivational speaker. He's been helping many people and business leaders grow purpose faith here for years. He's also my uncle, Harold Milby. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, John.
How was your trip down from Kentucky?
It was great. It was great. So excited to be on the None Better podcast and be a part of that, man.
Yeah.
It's exciting times.
Absolutely. I'm just excited to see you maybe come down and spend a little time with us down for a week. You're working some work down here.
Doing some work down here. So yeah.
Nice.
Good opportunity. Yeah, good opportunity.
No traffic in Atlanta on your way down?
There's always traffic when you're in Florida.
Yeah, that's true nowadays for sure. I just want to ask you a little bit how you've been doing personally. Like, how you been? Like, having good?
Yeah, things have changed a lot in the last year. Doing more of the speaking, training, coaching. So that's been a big change, I think. And I've done a lot of that over the years, but not focused on that. And so been through a certification process, gotten a lot of certifications on some of my coaching. So I'm a certified confidence coach, a certified purpose coach, a certified John Maxwell coach.
Yeah,
and
I
so
saw you got that not too long ago.
Yeah, right. And so I got to spend some time with John Maxwell, and just tremendous time with him. And it's been a lot of things going on this year. A lot of balls up in the air. But it's been exciting, and an exciting time in my life as I approach the sunset of my life. I know this is going to be a big part of what I do as I continue to work with business leaders of all kinds, and especially Christian business leaders.
Well, that brings it back to the, part of the conversation I want to talk about is we want to talk about your podcast, Christian Business Concepts.
Sure.
And if I am mistaken, you're probably, I think I looked around 180 episodes in right now?
Yeah, we're getting real close to 200 episodes. We're in over 60 countries worldwide as far as the people who are downloading. The number one city, not the number one country, but the number one city for downloads for my podcast is Sydney, Australia. Sydney, Australia. I don't know anybody in Sydney, Australia, but somehow they like me out there in Australia. And, the number one country for downloads, obviously, is the United States. It's been exciting, and especially for something I didn't know anything about when I started.
Yeah, well, you started, I think it was in 2022, if I remember right.
Right.
So you've been doing this now for a little while.
Yep.
To have 180 episodes, you have to be doing it for a while. I mean, I have to ask, because I'm a new podcaster, so
sure.
you're always thinking about episodes, like how does one come up with 180 topics of
Well,
faith leadership?
no, I
and,
get it.
you know,
Yeah.
that's a lot of content.
It
to
is a
have.
lot of content, and so I had someone tell me a long time ago, and this goes back to when I was pastoring, when I was preaching, and I was told you can't draw water from an empty well.
Yeah,
So you constantly have to be feeding yourself. You constantly have to be reading. You're reading books. You're taking notes. You're having experiences. You're getting in the right room with the right people.
Well, I've seen
Because
been in your office, and your book library is pretty extensive. I know you do a
I
lot of
have a
reading.
big library. You're absolutely right. I do. And most all of those books on my shelves I've read at least once, sometimes twice. But yeah, I think you have to feed yourself so that you can constantly be thinking about themes and things to look at. Also, with Christian business concepts, because it is kind of a combination between biblical concepts that are business related, and then how those things particularly apply to business in the world today,
Yeah.
in common business practices. And so then you kind of look at the balance between the spiritual side of business and then just the actual financial, the leadership side, and the natural side of business, and then how do those two go together? And sometimes I'll focus on more of a spiritual side, spiritual maturity, to bring spiritual maturity to business leaders. And so I'll focus on some of that stuff, but then we'll get into customer service, we'll get into sales, we'll get into all kind of KPIs and all of the things that you have to do as a business. And so we get into all of those things, but each week it's all about what does the Bible say about it? What do we know? Because but most people look at the Bible and then think that it applies in today's day and time, when in reality almost everything I've learned about leadership and business has come from that book.
All right, well, we'll go back into a little break there. So I guess the next question, Carol, I'd ask you is, what kind of got you? Why did you want to start the podcast to begin with? Like, what was the purpose of that?
I didn't want to.
You didn't want to. Well,
because I didn't know what it was. I didn't listen to podcasts. I didn't know anything about podcasts. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And so to just give you a little bit of history of what happened, so I was speaking at a couple of conferences, and they were months apart, 2 different conferences. And I was speaking there, and these were Christian conferences, so this was more of a spiritual type conference. And I was speaking there, but because of my experience, because I spent 25 years as a senior VP of a company, there's a lot of the business applications. It just kind of came out in some of the things that I was talking about at these conferences. And so at both conferences, I had 2 different people come up to me and say, you should consider having a podcast where you combine your spiritual experience with your business experience, because I think those two mesh together. Mm-hmm. And so the first time I heard it, I thought, okay, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you very much. I'll consider that. And I didn't consider that. I just told him that. But anyway, the second time it happened, I thought, okay, God, are you trying to tell me something? And so I started thinking about it, and I started praying about it. And then one day I was just sitting downstairs watching TV, and turned the TV off. And I clearly heard, and I know it was the Spirit of the Lord, but I clearly heard Christian business concepts. And I just stopped in my tracks. I thought, well, where did that come from? What is that? And so I got my phone out and I just put in Christian business concepts, and nothing popped up. So then I heard it again. And so I thought, Lord, are you trying to tell me that I'm supposed to do this podcast and it's called Christian Business Concepts? And I felt like the answer was yes. And so at that point, and this is like midnight, and so I get on Amazon and I buy a couple of books on how to do a podcast. What is a podcast?
Exactly.
And so I started reading. I spent about 3 months studying what kind of equipment do I need, what quality do I need, how can I start, how do you market it. And so at first I just thought I'll do a podcast just because it gives me some way to give. And I thought, if nothing else, I thought, well, my grandkids will have these podcasts. My great-grandkids, my great-great-grandkids will be able to hear me and some of the things that I would want to share with them years from now, because I'll have this podcast. But then as I started to do the podcast, I felt really good about it. I didn't do any social media or anything. And then all of a sudden, I look about 6 months later, and I'm going, good grief, I've had thousands of downloads already in the last 6 months. I've not done anything.
Yeah.
And then I found out that the company that I use to produce my podcast has a lot of statistics about who listens. And then I'm looking at all these countries. Countries like China, Russia, Iran, Iraq. I mean, countries that I'm thinking, why would you listen to me?
Yeah.
Why would you listen to this guy from Kentucky?
How would you even know I exist?
Yeah, how would you even know I exist? So evidently people are looking for information, and because of the tags that I put on it, they're finding the podcast through that, and it's just really been a grassroots growth. It's just grown because people are sharing. I ask people every week, hey, please put me on your LinkedIn page. Put the link of the podcast on your Facebook page, and do that. And then in turns, it's just been growing kind of more of as a grassroots.
Yeah, well, I've been an avid listener since you started, and every time I put it on, well, I like the fact it's only 30 minutes, so it's not super long.
Right.
So you can actually take what you hear in your podcast, and yeah, it applies to business, but it applies just in a personal life. So you really don't have to be a business leader necessarily to listen to this podcast to get anything from it. It just helps that if you're a business leader or anything in that realm, that it helps you just give you good nuggets every time you listen to this thing on how to apply godly principles to what you're doing and different facets, whether it be sales, marketing, even if you're just a warehouse worker, you can still apply these things to your life.
Absolutely.
And it works. You know what I mean?
You know what amazes me is that I'll get a text from a woman that says, hey, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I listen to you every week, and I get so much out of your podcast.
That's what I'm saying. It transcends.
It transcends even business. I mean, yeah, that's the focus for Christian business owners. And the other reason that I started it was because I believe that some of the great revivals that have happened in the United States have started. One of them started on Wall Street. It's one of the greatest revivals that started and swept through America was off of Wall Street, and it started there. So I believe God wants to use business, and I believe God needs Christian businesses.
Let me ask you this. So you've been doing this for 3-4 years now, I guess?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was the biggest challenge or hurdle that you kind of ran into to get this thing off the ground, that you didn't even start? Like, there were some moments that you're like, dude, why am I doing this? Or I can't do this, guy. Like, you having those moments?
Yeah. I think it goes back to what you said earlier. It's like, what am I going to talk about? I had the first 5 episodes, and I'm thinking, what do I do now? What kind of topic am I going to have? I don't know what to do. And so that was a challenge. And I think just the fact of starting where I didn't even know what a podcast was a big challenge, because I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't even know how to approach it. And having a quality, you want a quality podcast,
Sure.
And so working through the equipment and all of that kind of thing and making it work right. And I've changed a few things here and there, but I think the big thing is just, and it continues to be that, what do I talk about next week?
Yeah.
You get done recording the podcast and you think, man, I think I hit a home run. I think that was really a good podcast. And then 5 minutes later, when I'm walking out of the studio, I'm going, okay, that was great. What am I going to do next week?
Well, when we started our podcast, I thought it'd be like easy. There's so many people I can talk to and get on the show, and like you think it's that easy. And then you realize, well, are they interesting? Do I want to talk to them because they're going to bring people who want to come watch you? And are you going to get something good out of it, right?
Right.
That's the point of my podcast. I want
something
to be good got out of this.
Yeah.
The conversation's good. We can bring some things that people can learn from. And so then you're looking, well, maybe it ain't that easy. Like, I haven't had as much success bringing guests on like I thought I would, because who I thought might be a good guest really wasn't maybe a good candidate, right? So I've had to navigate, because I'm doing more video where you're right now still on the audio side, so you're not like talking that way. Although I got to be a guest on your show once, so I do appreciate that. It was an awesome experience, and it kind of got me broke in on what the podcast world is like. It's not as easy as everybody thinks it is.
No,
and
it's not.
having a voice, and I'm sure if you look back from the first time you do it to now, 180 episodes in, you've seen the difference in how you speak and how you approach it.
Oh, there's no question.
Your technique, all that.
Everything changes, because when I preached, I approached this like I would preaching. And in preaching, I would have notes, just some basic notes. And but I didn't have to have a lot of notes. I just had some notes, and you just kind of bounced around from each bullet point. Mm-hmm. This is different. You got to do more research. You got to have more information. You got to know more. You got to understand more. You got to write it out so that you understand exactly how this thing is going to flow. There's no audience. We're in here in a studio, and the only person that's in here is Ricky. And he's in here, and he's helping us to record and do all the behind the scenes things. I'm used to it being in front of a few hundred to a few thousand people talking, and you draw energy from those people.
Yeah.
Now you don't have that. So you have to create your own energy. And I think that was something I learned. So I look back and I've listened to the first 2 or 3 podcasts, and I'm like, they're horrible. I mean, they were just horrible.
Same here.
And so now I look back, a few years later, and I listen to my podcast, and I think, yeah, that's a lot better than the first 4 or 5 podcasts that I did.
Well, you keep investing in yourself, investing in your equipment, investing in quality, all these things.
You do.
You get better and better.
And you find your voice.
Yeah,
for
sure.
You find a flow every week.
You find your lane.
Yeah. You find it, and then you have that.
So let me ask you this, and we're moving a little more back to the faith part of this. So, what does it look like to you for running a business from a biblical principle and at the center? Like, what does that look like to you?
Yeah, I think that's where there's a difference. I did a podcast once, and I'll probably refer to a bunch of podcasts, but on the difference between being a Christian-owned company and a Christian-run company. And there's a difference. There's a big difference. When you're a Christian-owned company, that just means that you own a company, and you happen to be a Christian.
Yeah.
But you run your business just like a business, and you compartmentalize. So I've got my faith over here, my relationship with Christ is over here, and then my business is over here, and they're separate.
Yeah.
If you're a Christian-run business, which is what my goal is to help people find that place and find that lane to get in. The difference is that you don't separate them. They're all one and the same.
Yeah.
So your relationship with the Lord, it includes your business. And then you begin to see why. What is the purpose? Why does God want you blessed? Why does He want your business blessed? Because He does. And if we had time, we could go through that. It's a whole study in and of itself. But God wants you to be blessed, and He wants your business to be blessed. Well, why is that? And you begin to learn that. And then when you do, you begin to make your decisions a lot differently. Because you learn that, number one, it's not my business. It's God's business. I'm just being a steward.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that runs the place, but it's God's business. And I see that with CBC, with my speaking business, all of that. It's God's.
Yeah.
And so then I make decisions accordingly. I make decisions based upon, well, what does the Word say? How do I handle the situation?
I think that's the difference.
That is the difference.
You're filtering your business through the biblical principles.
You look at it through the eyes of what you think the Lord would look at it, and how He would see it.
I think that's the bigger difference between a Christian ran and a Christian owned.
Yeah. And I want to tell you something. You have a lot more peace doing it that way.
And I learned it through listening to your podcast, by the way. I mean, when I first started my business, I started it with Integrity Media Solutions. I started with the non-believers, which that's hard to do in itself, right? So Transform started listening to your podcast, and I realized, well, I'm not running it for God. I'm running it as a business, and I have my God on the side, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm like, well, that's not going to work, right? Not really. So,
not really.
It does, but if you want to be in God's will and try to do a godly way, that's what you want to do. So I started applying those principles, and I'm seeing the change personally in what it's done for me, how I approach things.
Yes.
The peace, the patience, the kindness that maybe you got to, for example, I gave you a little while off record. We talked about what happened to me this week. I have to kill that with kindness to overcome that challenge. So that wouldn't happen if you didn't have biblical principles applied, right?
Exactly, it wouldn't. And what happens is then you start making decisions based on your emotion. And I've seen multi-billion-dollar companies, I've seen leadership make decisions based on emotion and not based on really good principles. And when you do that, it really causes you to make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And it can hurt your business, can destroy your business at times.
Oh, for sure.
And so, when you're running it from the vantage point of being a Christian and being a believer and trying to operate it through biblical principles, you find out that you make decisions that are going to bless your business in the long run, even though at that point, when you look at it and you make the decision that way, you think, well, in the natural, I wouldn't choose that way to do this, but I'm going to do it this way because that's what the Bible says. And then you come to find out, you go, you know what? It worked out right.
Yeah.
And that's all because you did it that way.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
With the experience you've had with different leaders and business expenses or business people and that sort of thing, is there anything you could say or maybe a nugget you could throw away that would say here's some of the most common mistakes maybe they make trying to balance between work and their business and bringing faith into that?
Yeah, I think a big part of that is they're looking, again, they go back to the natural side of things because, we get born again and we've been used to being led by our own senses, our own natural abilities, our own mental, quotants that we have or our IQ. And then when you become a Christian, that changes because we're not led by that. Now we're led by the Spirit of God that lives in us and by His principles. That's always a problem whether you're running a business or not. But with business people, that becomes the big problem, and it sometimes can become a bottleneck because we struggle with, I want to know, I want to make this decision, and in business, this would be the way to make it. But then you've got to look at it from the Word of God as well and make sure those two don't conflict. Sometimes they don't conflict. The way that you want to do and make that decision lines up perfectly. But if it doesn't line up, then you've got to back up and say, then I really shouldn't be making the decision this way because it doesn't line up with what God's Word says.
Yeah.
And so that's where people struggle because they still want to go back into the natural and make decisions that way. And maybe at the end of the podcast, I can share a few really good resources for that to help.
Sure, we can provide that, the links and anything you might have.
Absolutely, we can do that.
If your home is going to flood, here are some most common places: your toilet, washing machine, your dishwasher, your ice maker lines. That's why homeowners are installing the water block. It's a 100% mechanical overflow safety device. No power, no batteries. It gets installed between the fixture or the appliance and the water supply line. You can set your water flow from 1.3 to 13 gallons. And if the water goes past its preset limit, boom, the water block shuts off, preventing a flood and damaging your property. So protect your floors, protect your house, and for God's sake, protect your wallet. Go to imscenter.com and protect yourself with the water block. Would there be any advice you would give someone that really wants to lead boldly without compromising their faith?
Number one, the Bible talks about us being bold. It says that the righteous are as bold as lions. So, yeah, we should be bold. We should be bold about our faith. There's nothing to hide. A lot of people say, well, in business, you can't share your faith. Absolutely, you can. It's protected. Actually, many people don't know this, but our Christian beliefs in our business atmospheres and cultures is protected by the Civil Rights Act. Okay. And so you can't you can't cram something down somebody's throat. I had a business tell me one time that I had worked for so many years. We had Thanksgiving dinner. Everybody brought something at this one particular facility, and I said, "Well, I'm going to pray with everybody." And the manager there said, "Well, you can't do that." I said, "I can't do what?" He said, "Well, you can't pray because this is a business. You have to have separation of church and state." I said, "Oh, no. I said, I have an absolute right to pray. Now, nobody has to pray and nobody has to participate. If they don't want to be in the room when I do that, they're free to walk away, not be a part of it at all. But you can't stop me from praying over this food. That's just, you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's a civil rights violation. And a lot of people don't know that, and businesses are afraid because they've been told you can't do that.
Especially in today's temperature, in our society right
Absolutely, in today's political environment.
It's very difficult. I want to say difficult. You're trying to balance. You want customers.
Yes.
Do you sacrifice customers because you want to stand? And I think people balance or have a problem sometimes struggling with standing boldly, but then without sacrificing that and thinking am I going to lose people? Because I don't think that way, because I feel like I'm just going to stand boldly with what I believe in. And if you want to use my business, you do. If you don't, you don't.
But Johnny, a lot of business owners feel that way. They struggle with it.
Yeah.
But let's look at a couple of great examples. First of all is Hobby Lobby. Great example. Yeah, they have a lot of people say a lot of bad things about them. But the thing of it is they're running a business, and so it's all about the bottom line, the profits. I know people don't like to hear that, but if you're in business to make money. Now, what you do with that money is a different story. But I'm saying a business is a professional endeavor that brings in revenue.
Yes.
And that's what we're talking about. Well, if you look at the stands and the bold stands that Hobby Lobby's made, where they've been actually drug into federal court over providing certain things in their health care that they don't believe in, like abortion. And they've been drug into court. But their business has flourished. It's grown. If you want to look at another one, is Chick-fil-A. So there was a whole lot of people that got very upset with Chick-fil-A a few years ago over some things that they stood for very boldly. But what it did is it increased their business. It didn't hurt their business.
Yeah, it brought attention to them.
It brought attention to them, and there are people that supported them because of what they believed. So they didn't want to open their stores on Sunday, just like Hobby Lobby didn't want to open their stores on Sunday. That cost them millions of dollars not to be open on Sunday. But they did it because that was part of their their belief and part of what they felt like they had to do, their commitment to the Lord. So it didn't matter about the money in that particular case. And so you see those successes, and there's many others.
Sure.
There's Interstate Batteries, another great Christian company. So, you should be bold. There's nothing wrong with trying to be bold, and I think you'll find out that when you are bold, you'll be more blessed than what you think you ever could have been.
Well, I don't want to leave out you with the John Maxwell leadership. I mean, so that's pretty new for you in the last couple of years. You started working through that, right?
Right. John Maxwell has probably mentored me since 1991 when I was a pastor. He was still pastoring at the time. John Maxwell was. John Maxwell, of course, now is the number one most followed leadership trainer and teacher in the world. He's got a large organization with a lot of employees. And so I wanted to be a part of something that I could build a business with. I looked at the Dale Carnegie. They had a franchise. I looked at the American Management Association. They had some ideas too. I looked at all of them. And then I looked at John Maxwell's program, his certification program, and what they do and what they offer. And that's who I felt like would be aligned more with what I want to do. Because I want to add value. I want to add value to business leaders. I want to add value to employees. I want to add value to businesses as a whole. I want to add value, and that's the whole John Maxwell philosophy, is adding value. So I train, I coach, and I teach. Those are the three things that I do, or I speak, I should say. And so I've been doing that, and it's starting to grow, and I'm starting to see some really positive things through that, mostly in my region, so within probably 4 or 5 states, but also I'm getting some interest in other parts of the country, which with technology.
Yeah, with Zoom and everything now, you can be anywhere.
You can do it anywhere.
I deal with people from overseas sometimes, so it's
absolutely.
not hard to do now with Zoom. Just schedule a call and get on there and do it, so it's not hard to do.
Yeah.
What separates a leader who talks with from let me back up actually before I even ask that. When you started John Maxwell and you went down that path, I mean, that started about 2 years ago, like with the actual certification part of that.
Right.
And you want to do that. Was there something that led you to want to do John Maxwell, like be a coach and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, again, it went back to, okay, I'm pretty successful with Christian business concepts, I felt like, but I wanted to do more. I wanted to have more of an impact. I wanted to add more value.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I need the material, but at my age, I don't have the time to build this material. I need the material. So John Maxwell's written over 100 books, all of them bestsellers. Developing the Leader Within You, How to Become a Person of Influence, Developing the Leader Around You, those types of books. And so what happens when you become a John Maxwell certified trainer and speaker and coach, you get to use all of his material. And so that made it really easy for me because number one, he coached me and he was my mentor. So I knew his product and I knew what it meant and I knew what it was about and I really believed in it. So this gave me the ability to teach it, to train with it, to speak with it, and then I have my own as well. So I have some signature programs that's just mine.
Yeah.
And so. But the bottom line was what I wanted to do is figure out a way to add more value to Christian business owners and to business owners as a whole.
Well, I think it goes to your whole brand of who what you're really trying to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Of coaching, of podcast, of Christian leaders and businesses, and your whole vision of trying to do all that.
I've always enjoyed it. Even when I was pastoring back years ago, when I was pastoring, I was still actually working. I did training for Walmart. I did training for banks, and I was pastoring. But I had a real passion for that. I loved doing it. So this is about me being aligned with my passion. So once I can get into alignment with my passion, my life is a lot more fulfilling.
I think it's a whole other podcast. You could talk about passion and being aligned with that. That's
absolutely
a whole other topic. I mean,
let me write that down. Yeah. I'm always looking.
Well, I mean, you have so many podcasts. I'm listening to so many of them, and one of the really, going back to some more of the beginning ones that really had an impact on what I was doing was the stepping stones analogy you gave me. And at the time we were doing that, I was literally out in the field digging ditches. I'm the owner of the business, and I'm out here digging ditches with the guys because that's what needed to be done at the time. And at the time, that really started implanting in my brain, this is a stepping stone to where I'm actually trying to get to.
Yeah.
And sometimes those stepping stones aren't always pleasant.
No.
We go through some ups and downs through life, but those stepping stones we have to do. Sometimes we're going to step in some doo-doo sometimes along the way.
It happens. I mean, and God will use it. It's not that God wants you to, but God uses those things because they do happen. I always think about Joseph, because Joseph went from the pit to the prison to the palace. Mm-hmm. That's how I like to say it. From the pit, from the prison to the palace. And the thing about it is every one of those were stepping stones for him to get to the palace.
Yeah.
And so I look at my life and the job that I've had, the one I spent 25, 30 years with in business and pastoring, I look at those, each one of those were stepping stones. I can look back and see it just as plain as day. They were all stepping stones to what I'm doing right now today.
I promise I'm going to tell you, if you've not listened to this podcast, go listen to it. There's so much material there, hours and hours of material that will just fill you with all kinds of good stuff, your business personally, all of it. I'm just saying, if you haven't have an opportunity to do that, go listen.
And they can go to the CBC website. There's all kinds of free resources on there too.
Yeah, the CBC website. We'll put all these links in our bio and all that for the info on this. But I do want to talk about, we have an event coming up in May.
Yes.
It's, why don't you tell us the name of it and all that information about it?
It's the Central Kentucky Christian Business Leaders and Owners Forum. And we're going to have a group of Christian business leaders, Christian business owners that are going to come together. It is a 2-hour program in person. And we're going to talk about 3 major topics there, and you're going to be a guest speaker.
I am going to be there. We'll be talking. I don't know what I'm talking about just yet, but I haven't gotten that far. But that's going to be. I'll be there in May. So if you want to come out, make sure you check that out. That's going to be May 21st in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky.
Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, and we can put the link on there for that. We're limited in our seating, so we've got 65 seats left, and so we'd love to have more people come and be a part of that. We're excited about it. This is the first one we've done, and so we're excited about that.
Yeah, I'm
excited about you being there talking.
Yeah, I'll be there talking. And like I said, I don't know what we'll be doing that just yet, but I'm excited about it. It'll be my first time doing this, and as someone who's been in business now for 6 years and own now 3 businesses, I'm excited to be able to talk to people, share my experiences, and hopefully my experience help somebody grow their business or wherever they're at in life. You know what I mean?
Guarantee it will happen.
Yeah, for sure.
I know it will.
So with that being said, we're getting down to that time of the day where the podcast has got to come in pretty soon. But I do want to talk about a couple of little things before we get out of here.
Sure.
A little personal reflection if you want to look back. So looking back at the grateful thing and season that you're in right now, like, is there anything you could point out, like, what you're most grateful for at this particular venture where you're at?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I appreciate is my wife in this, and I know that may sound corny to some people, but I do, and the reason that I do is she's always been so sensitive to help me and to hear what God is saying.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I get so excited that I think I'm hearing something, and I'm not hearing something, and so I kind of lean to her. But we are so in tune right now with this part of our lives and with what I'm doing. She's like my business partner. Mm-hmm. I mean, she's incredible. And so knowing that we're both together on the same page is huge. It's just huge.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the biggest things I'm thankful for.
I'm excited to see when her voice starts. I can see it now starting to happen.
It's starting.
I'm not going to go to the back line here, but my aunt had a medical situation for a long while where she was out. And so they had to go through a lot of stuff there that they're on the back end of, and now they're back in doing the things they're doing, and seeing my Aunt Mimi come back to her normal self.
Getting that swagger back.
The swagger she has, and her little thing she does. She has a little attitude, but she's a great speaker. She has a lot to offer to people in leadership and just being a godly woman.
Yes.
She's an amazing woman. So I suspect you're going to see her having some podcasts coming out and doing some things like that to look forward to as well. So I'm excited for you for that. So but I understand I see the connection. Like I see the growth that's happened in the last couple of years.
Oh, absolutely.
Where you started with that, and now she sees the same vision you're on. You're on you're on the same, walking the same path together.
Oh yeah.
Well,
she was the one that pushed John Maxwell.
Oh yeah.
Because that was a big financial commitment to become a part of their program. And my wife came to me. You were there in town that day when I went through a 2-hour program to listen about the program. And then they told us how much it was and all that at the end. And I mentioned it to you. I mentioned it to Mimi. And she's, okay, yeah. And she came up to me that night. I was in my study. It was at 10 o'clock at night. She comes up into my study and she says, can you still get all the benefits and everything from that program through John Maxwell that you listened to this morning? And I said, yeah. They said they'd hold it for 24 hours. She said, you need to do it. This is the time. this is the time. You got to do it. You got to do it. And it was like, and she said, and when I say do it now, right now while I'm standing right here. Get on there, get it, go online, do what you got to do. Let's make it happen right now. And that's kind of, that was exciting,
I remember you telling me that.
Because she really became a part of it. She really felt like that's what we needed to do.
She dug her feet in, and she's move forward here.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to put him on the spot a little bit here. I mean, if you don't know this about my Uncle Harold, he don't talk about this, but he used to be a magician back then, and any professional one. Like he was going to Vegas, all that kind of stuff. So and he's also been a sales rep for a long time. So he knows how to talk, and he knows how to sell. So this is my opportunity to give you my audience. You can give them your shelf stick. You tell them what Harold Milby is, who you're all about, and how you can help them.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I can do for any business is to help bring alignment to that business and to help with quiet quitting. We all have beginning to learn about quiet quitting, where employees quit, but they don't quit. So, there's a difference between efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. So that's what I help come into a company. I help bring that alignment with the employee to alignment with the mission of that company. And then what we do, we go beyond that and we begin to train them, because one of the biggest things that employees leave companies for, one of the biggest reasons, is because they don't feel like they were invested in any kind of training at all. So we can help you to develop a program that will invest in your employees, and for the cost, typically what it costs that company is less than what it will cost them to replace one management person. So the cost behind because that cost is normally a year and a half of their salary is what it costs you to replace that person and retrain that person. And I can come in and do these things for less than what it'll cost you to lose that one person.
Well, it sounds like a bargain to me.
Yeah, I think it is.
So you'll find all his stuff on his post on our website. All his information, we'll make sure it's all posted up for you guys to check him out. He's on LinkedIn, he's on Facebook, I think. And so go out and find him, support him, give him all the support he needs, show him all the love he needs to have. And we appreciate you, Uncle Harold, coming in and spending some time with us today, brother.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for coming in.
All right, thanks for having me.
Appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning into this week's Christian Business Concepts podcast. Go to ChristianBusinessConcepts.com for more information and resources. Be sure to check out other podcasts that will help you take your business and your personal life to a whole new level of success.